Okay, I think one of the most important lessons that we learned was when we transitioned from amateur to professional. We were quite young when we turned pro. We felt that the style suited us better. You know, in those days there was only one amateur and there was one pro, right? So, but we felt when we first got together, we were very successful. You know, at 20, we won the International Youth. We went straight into the semi-final of the amateur. But for quite a few years, we sort of got stuck there. And in our minds, we were going, this is not what we want. This is not how we want to dance. This is not who we want to be. And then towards the end of our amateur, we sort of made the choice ourselves. And we went, no, this is what we want. This is who we want to be. And the minute we made that choice, it changed our career forever. Because all of a sudden, we were very much in charge of that. And of course, we sought advice from professionals and our coaches at the time. But we were sort of quite honest with them and we said, you know, we don't feel this is where we should be going. And it wasn't that we wanted a different style. We just wanted the information we needed, we felt, to be successful. And then literally from turning pro, we turned pro, we won the British Rising Star straight in our first competition. We went straight into the semi-final of the pro as well. But it wasn't because, it was because we totally changed our whole mindset of competing and what we wanted to do and then we wanted to dance, the way we wanted to move our bodies and the way we wanted to perform. And so then all of a sudden it was sort of like, we found sort of a lot more joy then in competing again. And then we were pro then for like 3 years. And in that 3 years, we were in the British team 3 times. We made Worlds, European, Blackpool, you know, UK finals. And then we sort of stopped. I got quite injured as well. So then we stopped and then we went on tour and did lots of Strictly stuff. So, you know, it changed. But that's the biggest life lesson, I think, for competitors. I think the best dance partnerships are based on communication, trust. I think, you know, we are living in 2025, where I think partnerships today are much more balanced between both of the roles, between the leader and the follower. I think, you know, it's not, I felt sort of certainly, you know, I've been in this industry a very long time. My parents were both dancers, so I've sort of grown up all the way through all these different generations. And I think today, I think there's a lot more respect for female dancers, which I think is very appropriate. I think that female dancers are allowed to be more independent, more themselves, which I actually think helps male dancers be stronger anyway. I think sometimes the slightly older way of, you know, man controls woman, woman does what she's told. Oh God, that's like archaic now. Because the speed we're asking couples to move at, with syncopations and choreography, of course, we still want lead and follow, we still want harmony. But I think with the transition of very strong females, makes the whole partnership stronger anyway. So I think that for me, that's the most important thing. Trust, communication, and you know, Lily used to say, you don't have to put me there. I know where I'm going. And it's like, and it's true. It's like, you know, so I think in that sense, you know, that's important for me. Okay, the best advice I can give to a young dancer today is find a coach and a teacher you trust. If they have been through the process themselves, I think they will help you navigate the perils of ballroom and Latin dancing easier, you know, and if they have your best interests and, you know, and they look out for you and, you know, and not themselves, I think they can help you a lot. But fundamentally, I think the biggest problem, let's take the UK at the moment, the biggest problem I have with UK dancing right now and British competitors is the lack of practice. You know, it's the lack of for every lesson you have, you should be tripling the amount of time you practice. So if you have a 45-minute lesson, I want to see 2 hours practice, because until it becomes muscular memory, until it's in the body, until it's in there fully, you can't expect to then go out there and perform it in a competition. So, you know, we're always saying this to couples, the practice is the key. Practice, practice, practice. I mean, you know, growing up as a young dancer, we were practicing 3 nights a week, and then on weekends having lessons. You know, it's like, that's how we did it. Practice is really important, because until you know your body, until you can decide for yourself where you're moving from foot to foot, it's difficult. So find a really good coaching team, practice, and, you know, again, your career is really short, right? So you're trying to make sure that you navigate that career in the straightest path possible, right? As opposed to zigzagging around. And, you know, I see it a lot of juniors and juveniles, too many lessons here, lessons there, lessons there. So all they're doing is going from left to right. What they're not actually doing is going in a straight line in terms of progression. Now, don't get me wrong, you do need different flavors of teaching, but not all the time. Okay, our most memorable moment. I think career-wise, I think a career is a bit like a set of shelves. You know, on one shelf you have your career as a dancer, you have then your career as a performer, you have your career. You know, Lily and I have been very fortunate that we had a very good competitive career. We retired at 30, you know, to go off and do shows. You know, we were doing 8 shows a week. We had our own West End show. We did, you know, we were very fortunate to have all those things. But if we were looking at it competitively, you know, I think when we first got together, we just gelled straight away as a couple, Leah and I. And I think we were very successful straight away. And I think, you know, and then we sort of tried to power through for quite a few years. And then the minute we turned pro, it all changed. And I think that was the point competitively that we sort of finally got it. This is who we are. This is who we want to be. This is what we want to show. And I think for those years as pro, that was the most enjoyable, I think, in terms of that. And then, you know, I remember making the UK Pro Latin final. We were, so we just done Strictly, our first season, and we went straight to the UK, and having done Strictly was the fittest we'd ever been. You know, it's like we'd just dance, and we'd still managed to keep lessons up. We still managed to have our coaches work with us even while we were on Strictly. And I remember we went to the UK, Lilia was really sick. She had like a really bad flu bug, and she was like, so we did the day, and then we did we did 3 or 4 qualifiers in the day, and we went back to the hotel, and Lilia slept for like 2.5 hours. She got up, got ready, and we went to do it. Okay, so let's say we're going to make the semi. We made the semi for a couple of years by then, and but there was a shot at the final, and Lilia was like, no, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get through these two rounds. We're thinking 24 and semi-final, and so we did the semi-final. We're like, okay, great, and we felt we danced really well even under those circumstances. And then, of course, you go backstage and you find out whether you're in the final or not. And then literally, like, we made the final. It was amazing. And so I went back to tell Lilia, and I said, do you want the good news or the bad news? And she went, well, I said, give me the bad news. I said, the bad news is you've got another round to do. And the good news is we've just made the final, you know, and it was, you know, so as you know, you get these little stepping stones, which are really important, I think. And sometimes when you least expect them as well.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.